Welcome, everybody, to the final episode of the Righteous Prick podcast and the first episode of the Title to Be Determined podcast. Now, this is a sort of period of transition for this podcast. We're in a sort of limbo state. So it's honestly maybe the first non-binary podcast because it has plural pronouns because it is both the last Righteous Prick episode and the first episode of a new podcast simultaneously. So sorry, all you bigots out there, but this podcast identifies as a they. So while we're doing this episode, I want to offer you, in the plural sense, the fans, a chance to vote on the next title for this podcast. This episode will be a sort of model of how the podcast will be going forward. It won't be me alone in a room rambling, manic depressive style. It's me in a room with another person who will hopefully curtail me from doing all those manic depressive rants. But Mike is the producer. He was actually the first tech stuff guy for all you Making Podcasts Great Again fans out there. So thank you for being with us, Mike. We appreciate you being with us and being willing to produce this new upgraded podcast at Slickback Studios.
Hey.
I just want the people in audio to think that that was put in after. If you're watching me, you know that I said it like I knew it, but the audio people will be like, "Oh, did he not know? Did they have to?" That sounded like such an interesting dub. Did J-L do dubbing by himself?
So that was for the audio files, you're saying?
Yes.
Got it.
They'll have a totally different experience. And that's how you get people to go look and consume your content in different ways. Like, it's a totally different experience. The video of JL, the audio is like this War of the Worlds Orson Welles experience. Who's Orson Welles? I'm 19 and stupid. Why am I even listening to this middle-aged moron? And the video will be a sort of different experience, like I was saying. So if you found Robin Williams annoying in Good Morning Vietnam, get ready for an exciting podcast. Good morning, Slickback Studios. Rest in power, Robin. Anyway, the audience will be able to vote on the new title, and that will be either Man versus Everything or Rain on Your Parade. You guys choose. Disclaimer, if I am not feeling your choice that day, I will veto your choice. But for now, much like America, we will have the veneer of a democracy. Oh no, he's a left-wing woke guy. He seemed like a cool bro from his douchey eyebrows and broad shoulders, but it turns out he's a beta cuck. Sorry, going back to Rogan. Jordan Peterson, you alpha male, tell me how to be a real man. Well, what you have to do is you have to be gray and weak and Canadian. The 3 hallmarks for a strong alpha male. I'm working on the Jordan. Calm down. You know I do good impressions. I'm working on the Jordan Peterson right now. It's horrible. Bro, I'm still going to comment in and say, your Jordan Peterson is whack and he's actually a genius. You're a loser. Anyway, this show will be more focused than my usual episodes. When Righteous Prick first started, way back in 2012, I had been tired of getting called a hater. So I decided to embrace the black hat. That's a Western film analogy. We used to have Western movies and other types of movies before all we had was art house annoyances and Marvel monstrosities. Wow, alliterative today, aren't I, Mike? Anyway, don't stop me now. I'm on a real run here. But I was tired of being called a hater. So I put on the black hat and embraced the villain role and would pick a topic each week. And I'd invite somebody on to debate or discuss it. Not debate me in the Robert Kennedy Jr. sense, but a real discussion, a humorous, sometimes thoughtful discussion on that topic. And I would eventually prove to the person why they were dead wrong and they were overrating or overhyping, or just shouldn't even like what they're claiming is good. And I thought, let's redo that with the guidance of my podcast guru. Can I elevate you to podcast guru status?
You can do whatever you want. I'll accept it.
Okay, my podcast life coach, maybe guru's too much. Podcast life coach, Mike, thought that seemed like a good hook to bring back because in his words, I was fucking aimless. No, he didn't say that, but he thought it. He definitely went to his more popular podcast after and said, JL, good comedian, right? Has no fucking idea what he's doing. Like the guy, it's like, what's going on here? So we decided to focus it. So today's episode, You'll see. I can just let it play out. But affirmative action is going to be the topic today, but not in a John Oliver way where I've had 13 research assistants put together an episode where we're going to discuss a topic like it's academic with 6 jokes thrown in. It's going to be more funny and less militantly focused on giving you guys good information and really just more about giving you my enlightened, hilarious opinions. I think that's...
Yeah.
What do you think of the John Oliver, by the way?
The impression or him?
The impression.
I liked it.
Okay, better than the
good.
Jordan Peterson, obviously. It's been bubbling up more in my rotation.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why I turned his theme song into the Friends theme song, but they're similar. Probably the same artist who does it. So, this topic is going to be affirmative action, but not in the sense that you're thinking about. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it, but you'll see where we're going because it's going to really focus eventually on maybe the biggest affirmative action case in the world right now. And that's Denver Nuggets center, Nikola Jokic. Teaser, that's what I've been told, that's what's called a teaser in the industry. So look at that. Now all of a sudden you're like, I thought this guy was woke, but I didn't realize he was also going to talk about gangly, big white basketball players. I'm definitely unsubscribing now.
Yeah. Everyone gets it on this podcast with both barrels.
Right. That's the key to my comedy non-success has really been the fact that, let me give it to you in this terms. When I was a college basketball player, humble brag, my career stats looked like the stats a 1 week of an All-American's career. But I did great impressions of everybody on the team. But by the time I left college, I realized, I think most of the people in this room hate me, in this locker room hate me because when they're not laughing, it's because I'm making fun of them. And so you confuse 11 people laughing in a locker room with, hey, I've won over the team. But at every point, someone's had a reason to be like, man, fuck that dude.
Individually isolating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's what I do comedically in general. It's like I'm too
Yes.
aggressive and much of a real comedian for left-wingers to love me. They just love the fact that I got big off of like impressions of GOP people. And then the faux alpha males out there, the Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan acolytes, they don't like the fact that A, I criticize Trump, but B, that I will use real comedy weaponry against them. Like when I called Trump supporters, I said, Trump is the stripper pole for broken white men. Well, as it would happen, a lot of broken white men got in my Instagram messages and were like, your comedy sucks, dude. You're nothing. And I'm like, from a 23-second joke, you decided to condemn my entire comedy catalog, which I'm sure you're not familiar with. You're telling on yourself. But when you feel good about that, you get to the end of a week and you're like, well, it seems nobody likes me. And in stupid logic, that's when you say, and that shows that I'm doing something right.
Keep pushing.
Yeah, just keep going down that road until someone on the left or the right assassinates you. And that's when you've really owned them.
Yeah.
When they assassinate you, that's when you go, your last words are like, I totally owned you. Sorry, sorry, my last gasping breaths are living rent-free in your head, bro. Somebody's last words will be that one day.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm living. Like, what if Kennedy's last words to Oswald had been, sorry, I'm living rent-free, bro, in your head. Anyway. Then we're going to do some comedy talk, which my old fans like. And it's not going to be your grandpappy's comedy talk. You're going to get real opinions, whether they damage my career or not. And you don't get that from a lot of people. You get a lot of ass kissing and a lot of PR, but you're going to get real takes. Sometimes they're going to be good. Don't think this is just going to be hating. This is going to be real talk. Okay? Sorry to let the black half of my genealogy have a word, but it's going to be some real talk. Although by now, white women on Instagram are probably going, real talk? Real talk. And that's what I've always found fascinating about social media It used to take years, maybe even decades, for white people to steal the culture and art of black people. But with social media, 3 weeks later, some mom at yoga class is going, oh my God, that is lit. It is fire. It is fire. It is giving me feelings. I am all in my feelings right now. Can I have a green smoothie, please? Anyway, but black people drink smoothies too now. So that actually was hurtful both ways. So I apologize. But basically, there you go. Blah, blah, blah. Affirmative action, guys. The Supreme Court got rid of it. And, there's plenty of reasons. I think there's intellectual reasons to want that to be. I think there's a strong argument in common sense that perhaps economic need should be more of a priority, and that there are colleges and schools that have found a way to still have ethnic and cultural and racial diversity while emphasizing economic need over financial need. Now, anybody who, though, discusses the 14th Amendment and will say things like, it's supposed to be race blind, doesn't know their history. And I believe Ketanji Brown Jackson had said this in her opinion. Trust me, this is going to be academic for like a minute more at most. We'll get to hot takes and buffoonery soon. But the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were race-conscious amendments. They weren't, hey, everybody should just be cool now. No, it was in response to the end of slavery. And to dismiss that also, to pretend like those amendments, because a lot of the guys on the right love to go into the originalism. Well, the original intent of those amendments had a strong racial foundation. It wasn't some sort of colorblind scheme, but they conveniently leave that out when making their arguments. When Clarence Thomas is hating himself to the core, he's not making that argument. But I don't know. I'm somebody who benefited from affirmative action, I'm sure. For college and law school, I checked, they said check all that apply. But one of the ones that applies for me is black, white and black. And they probably shouldn't have let me in, to be honest. But they did, so thank you. No, I did very well in high school. I did very well on tests. But my grades in college and law school were pretty mediocre. But there was nowhere else to go after law school. That was the joy. There was no place else for me to say, will you let this struggling, barely black man into your institution, please?
Barely black.
Barely black. That's also my new website, guys. It's just videos of men who look like me having sex with Rashida Jones. That's it. That's the new porn apparently that people are into. So go get on that. Barelyblack.com. But in all seriousness, I think of my own family. My mom, high school educated woman. My brother was the first one in our immediate family to go to college. My dad was an immigrant from Haiti. And so I checked all that apply. And I wrote my essay, I remember, to Georgetown for law school, was about not feeling awkward about how people looked at me and like identifying as half black. And then there becomes this thing of like, but you're a black man. I'm like, I have a mirror. It's hard for me to just walk around proclaiming that I'm a black man. Now, granted, Walter White, the founder of the first leader of the NAACP, was fucking whiter than me. I don't even think his real name was Walter White. White was probably just a nickname. His name was probably Walter Jackson, but they're like, you're Walter White. And most of you are going, the Breaking Bad guy was in the NAACP? No, you're a fucking idiot if you think that. Okay, read a book or a Wikipedia entry. Either one will help you. But I've always had that, so it's hard. Like, I know that I've benefited in some ways, but at the same time, I had excellent grades and test scores in high school. I played basketball. I was editor of the high school newspaper, and I still had somebody, I was told, in the senior lounge when I got into Williams College, which is a good college. They said, J-L only got in because his dad's black. Now, granted, I also had great grades, great SAT scores, was going to play college basketball at Williams, and was the editor-in-chief of the school newspaper. But to some people, and this was definitely not one of my classmates going to like Harvard or Yale, it was definitely some bitter piece of shit who was like, oh, he's only doing that because his dad's black. And it's like, you get that double-edged sword where, in some respects you think, well, will people think I'm automatically not qualified if I'm sort of benefiting from affirmative action or whatever the case may be. But I also come from, even though neither of my parents is a lawyer, in my history in Haiti, my great grandfather, I believe, Luxembourg Cauvin, look him up. Black people in foreign countries can also have funky names. But he was on the Supreme Court of Haiti. I'd like to think he was maybe like a Sonia Sotomayor or a Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I hope he wasn't like the Haitian equivalent of Clarence Thomas. Well, they were all black also. That wasn't a race. I was just saying his judicial philosophy. But the point is, there's things in my, maybe if I, like there's things in my past that would maybe indicate that I had more privilege, or my mom had a good job, even though she wasn't college educated. So a lot of these factors create confusion and things, but there's this desire in this country to be like, we're not you should never consider race, and this is racist to consider race. It's like these very simple black and white, forgive the pun, views on affirmative action and race that are so simple, but they appeal because I think the average person or the median person in this country is a fucking lowbrow simpleton. That's right. I'm not looking to be the podcast for everybody. I want the elites. Preferably though, like 1 million of you elites. Okay. I think we're good. Like if we get 1 million elites.
Are there 1 million elites?
There's like 9. But you get, anyway, I've turned off everybody. But the point is, I've seen, I think there's a future where there will be some growing pains, some birthing pains, unfortunately, with creating a new system now that sort of affirmative action is gone. But my recommendation, I say this first off from my law firm experience, hire hot Asians. Like, in other words, if you want people to feel less angry about it, make sure that the high test score people that may get a bump from this are the hot ones. My law firm, I will say this, I was recently laid off, so please join the Patreon, buy an album, etc. But I always had a sneaking suspicion that somebody in the hiring committee high up at my law firm loved Asian women, because the Asian women at my law firm were hot. There were a lot of nice looking men, and well, not really. There were a lot more nice looking women than men. My theory on the legal profession, Mike, is when a guy gets a job paying him mid 6 figures before he's 30, he goes, oh, I'm done. I can now eat steak and be a fat, because the main component of my attractiveness has been completed. Mission accomplished. Yes. I have a lot of money, a sweet apartment in Manhattan. Let's go. Yeah. The women who get hired at these jobs, I always notice they look like at 5 a.m. I had a hot hit class, and then I had a vegan smoothie. Yep. And now I put on 4-inch heels and I'm ready to bill 11 hours a day and then go, fuck some dude's brains out with my strong core muscles and my whatever. Yep. And they're like, this is the energy on the women in the firm was like, this is the beginning of my conquest. And the men are like, I did it. I'm rich.
I think you are 100% right. I got dumped at the beginning of the year by a hot woman who had just passed the bar. I was like, that's right. I am no longer on your, I'm out kicking my coverage now.
It only makes them as staff attorneys sitting in looking like a schlub. I'm like, God, the energy, it's hotter. I've always said my fetish, I have many, but my main one is I love office attire. Mm-hmm. A woman in good looking office attire, whether it's a porn or Hillary Clinton in a pantsuit, I'm rock hard. Yeah. And
that's what most people have said about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Wow, she makes me hard.
God, the way she fills out that pantsuit, even the calf area. Yeah. Anyway, my mom will not like this. We're all Hillary fans in my family, but my mom, if it was between me and Hillary, I think she'd be like, what have you done for the country?
Right.
But I feel like when I looked at these women, it was like they looked at the law firm as the stepping stone. Like, I'm here to either advance a career or to find a suitable mate, but the mission is not over. Whereas a guy is like, I'm 29, I make $390K a year as a lawyer. I just bought a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. I know this may not sound appealing to other people outside this city. They're like, a 2-bedroom apartment. I own a mansion outside of Jacksonville for $3,800. Bought that bitch cash. but that's like, you can't help but like have this mindset of like, I did it. But my point being, the people who hired in my law firm, whatever man or woman, this is a progressive podcast, had a thing, I think, for Asian women, because we didn't have the equivalent accompaniment of hot Asian men. We had schlubby Asian men smoking Asian women. And I was just like, somebody in the committee is like trying to stack the deck. Like, I don't want them to have equally hot Asian partners to choose from. I want to stack the deck for mid-50s beer belly rich guy. So but my point is, you know what I wasn't thinking about looking at my people walk around my firm? Affirmative action. Occasionally I'd be like, there's a lot of Asian people at this firm. But I'd be like, but you know what? A lot of them are hot. So it's okay. So I think that's if you want to if you want to ease the transition of stripping opportunity from Black and Latino people, one way to sort of, think of it as like more a morphine drip. You're killing the opportunities and economic growth potential for major communities in this country. But if you're drifting away into that abyss and you're seeing a bunch of smoking Asian women, you're like, oh, well, that's okay too. So that's just my advice. I'm trying to bridge the divide, create a peaceful atmosphere. I don't want the tension to rise.
That's what it's all about.
But I will say this, the most attractive man I've ever seen in my life, Asian man. I was walking through Koreatown. I don't think he was Korean though. I think he was just trying to flex on all the Koreans.
Right.
Like, you can't have this.
Right.
But he was about 6'4". If I would describe him as like, he was almost like a 6'4" Asian Chris Hemsworth, but it looked like all he did was mountain climb and surf for his physique, not roids and powerlifting and CrossFit.
Just like a natural athlete.
Yeah, but I got caught like staring, not sexually, but in a whoa.
Yeah.
Like I was just kind of like, whoa. Like I just seen a sunset.
There are men that are like that, but they have to be so handsome. They're heavenly almost. In
like,
a way
what if Steve Aoki were actually Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at. Like Steve Aoki, not attractive, but he had the long hair of Steve Aoki. And I'm not a long hair guy. On women, it's fine. Men, I usually find it disgusting.
Yeah.
This guy though, I was just like, I like paused in the crowd, not like I was walking our street. I was like, I don't want him to catch me staring at him, but I was like, this dude is like,
but I must follow him.
And this is a guy who should be fucking the attorneys at the firm I used to work with, is my point.
Naturally.
But instead the deck is stacked for these nothings who aren't even hitting the gym in the morning to keep up.
I'm telling you, those women,
the hot Joneses.
Those women find the Steve Aokis who are suitable to wield Thor's hammer. They find them. I'm telling you. Those hot guys are not like settling for not hot women. They date hot Asian lawyers.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you.
But I felt it just, anyway, my point is silver linings to ending affirmative action. I'm not here to just, there won't be wailing and gnashing of the teeth. Sorry for the biblical reference, but I'm biblical like that. But, there's just ways we can move ahead and ease the pain of the next several years before we find a workable strategy to create more opportunity for disadvantaged groups of people. But don't believe anybody who just says it was supposed to be colorblind is the point. Okay, that was enough serious talk, but I think I threw in enough misogyny and questionable things to make it entertaining.
Yeah, it is a podcast.
For anybody who could get through that minute of education. Oh, my brain hurts. Why is he talking about stuff? But I will also say, I think, affirmative action is a state issue, like a state action issue. But a lot of the people you see complain about it employ affirmative action in their own lives and don't see the hypocrisy or why. Just look at the podcast world. There's all sorts of guys, especially if they're right of center, they'll be like, well, that's why Black people are lazy and do crime. Look at the data. Right, Jamal? My guy who emceed for me once, but now is my co-signer of every offensive thing I say, so I can say Jamal likes it. Middle East, they are basically hateful terrorists. Right, Ahmed? The guy who once did a guest spot on my show, but now I have sit here and just take all this energy and just nod because you want the opportunity? Yes, indeed. Absolutely. So there's affirmative action everywhere is what I'm saying. And some people, I think the best kind of affirmative action are the people who use it to raise up a group rather than co-sign their bullshit.
I agree.
I think we should get rid of the bullshit co-signers first before we get rid of the guy or gal or non-binary whose SAT scores might have been slightly below what was appropriate for the school. But anyway, we'll see. We're going to have more fun stories in the days, weeks, and years ahead, I'm sure, on this topic. But ease the tension, hot Asian chicks. Is my point.
If you take anything away from this podcast.
Yeah, if there's any lesson, it's just, I'm telling you, it made me feel less indignant about the poor social habits of the people I worked with because I was like, but you know what? Pretty hot. So that's all preamble to our main topic. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, maybe the biggest affirmative action case in the world today, Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic, when we return. And we're back to podcast name to be determined later. Mike, did I ever mention to you that when I was on Craig Ferguson, I was totally ripped?
I think I first heard the story 7 years ago, but I've heard it multiple times since.
It's my Polk High 4-touchdown game at Polk High. At least there's video evidence of it, but it's every day that goes on that I don't get to the gym, that my shoulder hurts, that I get like looks of concern rather than desire from attractive women in the streets. I lean on that more heavily.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get to a point where like it's going to be like a sad version of American Psycho where I'm masturbating to video of me as a 28-year-old. Like, God, I was so great back then.
Yeah.
That's an American Psycho reference for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about. If I lost you with the Orson Welles reference or the American Psycho reference, I apologize. We're here to talk about Nikola Jokic. Now, some of you are probably out there going, wait. First of all, Nikola Jokic is a phenomenal basketball player with a beautiful game. And he's also white. So I don't even know what kind of affirmative action bullshit JL is trying to spin here, but I'm not having it. Well, you can go, but please go to my Patreon first. My point with Nikola Jokic is something happened with the way the NBA, and we're in the NBA offseason, but it's now a 365-day a year league, similar to the NFL. But I wanted to let Nikola, if I can call him that, Coca-Cola, that's my nickname for him, enjoy his post-celebration, his he didn't seem like he was enjoying it, but I wanted him to maybe enjoy his parade and everything after winning the title. But it seemed he quickly got this weird combo of like black dudes on social media, like sweating him. And my theory is because he's actually not threatening. He's not playing a game that most, other than Tim Duncan's the only black guy on earth watching Nikola Jokic play basketball going, God, I wish I could play like that.
Nice.
I love below the rim fundamental basketball. I get hard from it. Most white dudes are kind of just like, okay, old man, a nice George Mikan game. But something switched with Jokic. And I think it was a reverse of when Obama won Iowa in 2008. Black people began to embrace him much more heartily because he had won over corn-fed white people. So it became no longer about doubting his blackness, but embracing him 150%. Like, oh, he can win with the white people? Oh, that's my black dude. I will never question his blackness again. And with Jokic, there's like this kind of flip of like, oh, he's not threatening. He doesn't have the same game. So it's not like I'd have to compare him to a previous athlete or player I like. But it also became almost this hoops version of affirmative action. Like, oh, his strength is that he doesn't jump high and that he's slow and looks like he has love handles and looks like Tim Robinson from Netflix.
Yeah.
Like these all play into this kind
Very
of,
ugly.
the same, like there's this vibe that, the skinny dude in Hustle and Flow from Road Trip, DJ Qualls.
DJ Qualls, yeah.
Where this skinny, goofy guy going, "Whoop that trick." You're like, yeah, he can come to the cookout. He can produce my beats. That's cool. Because there's something outsider that that you can welcome in because he's so clearly an outsider and non-threat to maybe what you traditionally enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury as a biracial man. I have to hate both sides of the equation. That's how I operate. And I don't like his game that much. I respect his game. I respect the efficacy. I respect the results. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I like watching Nikola Jokic play basketball. It's slow. He pushes off a lot. I think that's affirmative action. Him and Luka Doncic, okay? These doughy white guys, they get to use 90s push-off arm in the 2020s, an offense-only league, but those guys get a little boost to their push-off SAT scores when applying with the referees, if you know what I mean. You probably don't know what I mean. But when I watch Jokic play, I just go, hey, respect the results. He's obviously got skills. He hits shots that look freakish. Like a 1 foot fadeaway in Anthony Davis's face that looks like it should be an air ball, catches nothing but net. But it's not like I'm watching Steph Curry shoot, where I'm like, this is artistry and insanity when I'm watching. It's sort of like, well, what are you going to do? I guess Jokic got the ugliest 30, 20, and 10 in NBA history, but it's a 30, 20, and 10. So you have to respect the results. But this kind of revision of like, oh, I love his game. Do you? Because there have been people playing slow and like, Did you sweat and suck off Arvydas Sabonis when he was playing for the Portland Trailblazers? Like, oh, look at that giant-headed monster. Look at his no-look passes. By the way, the giant head, look up Arvydas Sabonis, look up the picture of him with his son, Domantas.
Yeah.
Domantas Sabonis is a 6'10", 260-pound behemoth. The picture of them next to each other, Arvydas, his father, as Craig Kilborn so eloquently said, not your Vetus or my Vetus, our Vetus. He looks like he could swallow the head of his son. His head is the size of a 32-inch television. It's enormous. But nobody sweats. But everybody talked about him when he was younger, but it was never like, look at his game. No, people were just like, oh, he's got good fundamentals, man. I wish I could have seen him when he was healthier. But it was never this kind of, oh my God, Jokic. And here's why I'm saying this is expanded. This is why I know it's a little bit of a affirmative action boost for Jokic in the sports sense. 2 different things Jokic did that should have been treated as wrong or weird. The first was when he pushed one of the Morris twins. Now, I'm no fan of the Morris twins. Okay, I don't know them personally, but I've never been a big fan of them. But Jokic got into a kerfuffle with one of them on the court, and I apologize for not knowing which, but to me, all black identical twins look alike. So I know you can revoke my half black card for that, but I'm going to go there. This podcast is going to go there and say it. Okay.
The controversy.
Well, you know what? You got to make these hot takes now. Text flashing, quick cut.
Yeah.
We got to get all that, maybe some menacing music. But what I will say is, it wasn't cool what he did to the Morris twin. He blasted him in the back, injured him. The guy wasn't looking, just obliterated him in the lower back. Morris fell down, and Morris would have at least gotten up and done something if he could have. So he was legitimately injured by this dirty move.
Yeah.
Well, now that Jokic won the finals and is, the slow, unathletic GOAT, apparently, you don't mess with Jokic.
Yeah.
That was the social media vibe when they were replaying these clips. Oh, you don't mess with Jokic. That's what happens. What? He'll hit you in an incredibly dirty fashion. Now that's a good thing. If he had never made a finals, he'd be that bitch that cheap shotted one of the Morris twins.
Yeah.
But because he won, it's like, you don't mess with him. Why? Or else he'll do one of the dirtiest things I've seen in the last 5 years. That's what'll happen. Okay. If that's a good thing now, my guy Rudy Gobert gives everybody COVID. He's a villain, but Jokic commits possibly felonious assault on a Morris twin, and you don't mess with him. That's the solution, Morris twin. So that was one piece of thing. And obviously you don't, and then people love to, the Eastern promises, or the taken sex traffickers is what I refer to the Jokic brothers as. They're in the audience, and they look like they should have their own Pornhub category, them and their wives, like giant degenerates. Oh, what's that? What do I get if I click on giant degenerates? Oh, oh God, it's just Jokic shoving Marcus Morris in the back. This isn't what I come to Pornhub for. But these guys are massive tattooed. They look
Why are there horses?
They look like European sex traffickers is my point, but also bodyguards for European sex traffickers. But then the flip side of this, and thank you for bringing up horses. And don't worry, if you're not enjoying the podcast right now, there's going to be other content that we're going to be pumping out that's going to be much more to the algorithm's liking. We're going to talk to porn stars. We're going to say, when was your first shoot? Do you like sex? Who are your favorite guys? How big is the biggest dick that you've ever had? We're going to do it all. We're going to have video. We're going to have low cut tops. We're going to get the content that, only 990 other podcasts are doing right now. But you know the rule. If Malcolm Gladwell said it, if you're not the 10,000th podcast to do something, you haven't done it enough. And we're going to talk to muscular white bros in suits telling you how you can get more pussy and be stronger and get rid of your loser lifestyle mentality. So we're going to get to all that stuff, of course. But this is like a soft opening.
Yeah.
I
only signed on to this podcast to learn from these types of guests.
Right. Right. Like I never fly. I was 9 years old and my mom tried to make me fly coach to Disneyland. I told that bitch to shut her fucking mouth.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I was in Disneyland on a first class flight because my parents had died and I inherited a bunch of money from them and got to fly first class. And that's the sort of stuff you can learn from Power Bro Alpha Male Podcast coming soon to Slickback Studios and this soon to be titled episode. But the point is, the other thing Jokic did that everybody's like, oh, it's so great. When he won the title, he just walked around shaking hands. Oh, good game. Good game. Very nice. Good game. Giannis, when he won, tears flowing, overcome with emotion on his muscular, athletic looking arms. Nobody shared
looking
as
like
much
a
as
god, a Greek god,
a black Greek god.
Yes,
the scariest. Imagine getting anal from a black Greek god.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Imagine that Greek salad.
Yeah. Oh, Giannis must have.
Guys, we're going to make black dick jokes once in a while. We're trying to be an alpha male podcast.
That's right.
Okay. We're not PC. There's going to be the occasional black dick joke.
Yeah.
Actually, there won't be. That was one. That was one.
Keep track.
And that's it. That's all you're getting. Okay. We don't want to, when other places zig, we lose money. That's our motto here. Not here as far as Slickback Studios, just me in particular.
Yeah.
But Jokic walked around shaking everybody's hand. And when they told him he had to go to the parade, he looked chagrined and said he wanted to go home to his horses. And that's when I realized, first of all, I didn't think that was cool. It's funny, but it's not cool.
It's funny because it sucks.
Right. People started to portray it like he's so chill.
Yeah.
He's so chill. He doesn't even give a fuck.
Yeah.
He's just like, I got to go home. I got this title. I got these MVPs. I'm out. See you next season.
Yeah.
No. I think what we have to realize is that Jokic may be on the spectrum. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's fine, but I don't know if that's cool. I don't know if that's like, if we're just taking everything he does now and it, like if you spilled a bunch of toothpicks and Jokic said 221, we wouldn't be like, oh, he's doing math now. Jokic can do it all. We'd be like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
We've discussed this off mic where it's like there are certain
makes me
athletes.
laugh, by the way. I forgot that this was the take and then I heard it and I was like, oh, that's right.
Well, I just think if he has
it's
Asperger's, it's fine. But is Asperger's a performance enhancing drug?
Right.
You want to ask, because it obviously gives him this weird focus.
An advantage.
He's not distracted by things like hoes and money and winning a championship.
Isn't that the point of Rain Man? Like Rain Man, the whole thing
I don't
was
think
like,
he had Asperger's. I think he was more severe.
Okay, got it. But he did have an advantage at the blackjack table.
Oh, he crushed it at blackjack, and they kicked him out of the casino.
Exactly.
They kicked him out of the casino. So my point is, when you see certain athletes, like a guy like Ray Allen, great shooter, I remember reading something like he's had the exact same diet and meals for like 17 years straight. I go, that's not normal.
Yep.
even when I go to the Cheesecake Factory, sometimes I throw in a little factory famous meatloaf instead of the salmon. And I skip the cheesecake sometimes. So like you see certain guys where you're like, wow, how is he so focused? And it's like, well, because he's using nature's Alpha Brain. Right. Is Alpha Brain a sponsor of the show? Are we in talks with Rogan's people to get Alpha Brain on board? Okay, well, the point is nature's Alpha Brain might be Asperger's. And when I look at Jokic having these responses to things, I go, well, no wonder he's practicing 1 foot fadeaways from 30 feet every day. That's all he can do.
Yeah.
And I think we have to crack down on sports. We had roids in baseball. I think now we have to start looking at, is the spectrum giving you an advantage? Do you have to be maybe separated and put into another league?
A league of their own.
Trademark that. I think we're going to make a lot of money off of that. But the point is, Jokic, great player. Don't enjoy watching him. And I think we need to just slow down on and that's what I'm saying, that we have affirmative action in all walks of life. Like where Jokic, you let him, and I'm not defending the end of affirmative action. I want to be clear on that. But what I am saying is if you're upset about the end of affirmative action, then go through your NBA tweets and see how many times, Jokic, took a shit without wiping and you were like, my man doesn't even wipe. That's how legit Jokic is. Even toilet paper can't guard him. Check for those tweets and realize, I'm kind of doing it as well. Did I have this same love for other players that were objectively more aesthetically pleasing?
Right. Where's your Dave Cowens tweet? Talk about lanky white guys.
Dolph Shays could get it back in the day. So yeah, good luck to the Jokic brothers. I hope they don't, visit Slickback Studios and murder you or do whatever they do when they're not sex trafficking.
I've been speaking the truth, the gospel about Jokic on my sports podcast for a while. I'm not really a fan. And
respect.
Great. Yeah. Great player.
But I don't enjoy and when people say things like ignorant things, I'm talking to you, Dennis Rodman, North Korea. This man wants peace. He wants peace. And I'm very upset. My man, Donald Trump trying to make peace with Kim Jong-un. That is my Dennis Rodman in his late 50s having an emotional breakdown during an interview impression. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But when you say something like Larry Bird would be playing in Europe nowadays, and Isaiah Thomas, a rival of Bird's, said, well, I can't agree with that because Larry Bird was putting up the same stats as Jokic winning championships. So I can't agree with that take. You like that, Isaiah?
The face really matches what
I get into it. When I do an impression, I let it take over.
Yeah.
So the point is, it's been a rough week for affirmative action, but my thing is we either keep it all and we keep building a society that tries to do right, or we tear it all down. We tear it all down and we have law firms flooded by hot Asian women, an NBA where we stop praising lumbering white dudes as if they're not good basketball players.
Yeah.
And, then we can have a more equitable society, but no half measures, as my guy Walter White said. Not the NAACP Walter White, but the Breaking Bad Walter White. That's called Full Circle, guys. And that might be the title of this podcast. Just kidding. I prefer man against everything, but don't let me skew the poll. Don't let me skew the poll. We want integrity in the selection, but that's my take. So Nikola Jokic, congratulations on your win. I know you don't care. All you kept talking about was going back to your horses. That seemed totally cool and chill. Do you want to go to the see my horses? Are you excited about winning the title? Horses? Your daughter was just born. Can we name her a horse? What's your favorite game to play, shooting game to play in basketball? Pig. You were supposed to say horse, Jokic. What the fuck? What? I laid it up for you.
Because the guy doesn't care.
And you say, exactly.
He's just that rad.
He's just so with it that he's playing Spectrum chess.
Yeah.
When you're playing Spectrum checkers.
Yeah.
But the point is, he's not that cool. He's a great player. Hot take done. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to end the episode with JL's comedy talk. Stay tuned. And we're back, everybody, for the last segment of the show, which is hopefully going to be a recurring. I don't know why I did double Italian fingers there, but whatever.
Vaffanculo you.
Yeah, stab me. Be a killer, just like your father. What is he talking? It's The Godfather, folks. It's The Godfather. That should roll off everybody's tongue. Like, a Godfather reference should just be like, oh yeah, Godfather. Like anybody who doesn't get that, I go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's a person that you know to avoid.
I actually like Godfather too. That's great. Godfather 1's the best. Okay. And
Really? You think so?
Yes.
Oh,
and if you want to call Brando the tiebreaker, if I have to give it like a legitimate discussion, The Godfather is my favorite. We're talking comedy talk, Mike. You're derailing my very sharply constructed podcast right now. The first thing in comedy talk that we're going to end the show with every week is some of these are going to be hot recommendations. Some of these are going to be, trashing stuff. You're going to get honest, not PR, not bullshit. You're going to get real hot takes on comedy. Hey, I'm willing to destroy my own career to give you guys a good product. Okay? That's how real this is. So the first thing, though, I have to trash fans, of course, of mine. The people who actually are still fans of mine.
Chase whoever is still there, chase them away.
Yeah. Get out. Get out while the getting's awful. This segment is going to just be called Punch Down of the Week. Now, I tweet a lot. I post a lot to social media. And some of my fans are very supportive. Most of them are very supportive. But others try to use my posts as their own open mic. And they often deliver horrible punches, tags to perfect jokes. Now, the first one, even though this one's from May, this one I have to include because it's already a first ballot Hall of Famer, Punch Down. But I had written, not to be outdone by Ron DeSantis announcing on Twitter, Mike Pence is announcing his campaign on Grindr. Perfect. Done. Stuck the landing. Kerry Strug, one leg. Everybody hug me. Let's have McDonald's. We're the U.S. gymnastics team. But this person decided to tag it with Pence is going to announce on Christian Mingle.
Should I put a sound effect in? Like,
no. I want the silence is the point.
I get you.
Just like they said of Trump's administration, the cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
The silence is the point. If you want to throw in like the crickets that would greet Daffy Duck when he would try to tell a joke, maybe that.
I do have those.
Yeah, that might be more appropriate. But basically, you downgraded my joke. For what reason? That would be my question. So the point is, that's going forward, and I'll be able to weed out you people who are trying to like force your way into this conversation. I can judge an authentic punch down from somebody clout chasing trying to get on this podcast. But yeah, Christian Mingle, that actually seems almost plausible. That's not even a joke. That's like, here's a very horrible version of what you did that actually might even be plausible. The antithesis of a good joke. So that's the punch down of the week, but we like to end on a recommendation, hopefully. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll say, I recommend you stay away from this special. But today I'm recommending one that I watched recently. It came out, I think, late last year, December 2022, but I'm just having been recently unemployed, finding myself in that new status. I've been catching up on a lot of specials, and this one is called Jew by Ari Shaffir. And I thought it was a masterclass. I really did. I thought it was, let me put it to you this way. If you guys ever see me doing a one-man show, know that though I may still be living and breathing in bodily form, my soul has killed itself. Mm-hmm. If you ever see me doing a one-man show, J-L in half black, all right, on Broadway. I don't care if it's a Broadway theater. I don't care if it's at the Garden. Know that I'm already dead inside, that I've given up on my dreams, my hopes, my integrity. I'm doing a one-man show.
Directed by John Leguizamo.
Yeah. Birbiglia Leguizamo from J-L Cauvin. This has one-man show structure, but is like pure stand-up. I don't know how to describe it. The closest parallel in terms of structure is like Gary Goldman's The Great Depression, which was like a stand-up set, but thematically surrounding one topic. And in Shaffir's, it's Judaism and it's religion as a whole, but Judaism more specifically. Obviously, if you didn't get that from the title, Jew. but I thought it was a masterclass. I thought it showed what the skills of a stand-up comedian. And I don't care if you find Ari Shaffir problematic or things he's done in the past or said in the past. This is a safe space for people to just make funny content. And it's a great, great special. I was really like so into it. I found it funny. I found it unique and engaging. And though he has a different rep and a different style in many ways than Gary Gulman, the comparison to the Great Depression, which is a special I love, is I think very apt because it shows somebody doing kind of one-man show things, but not taking the cop out of, hey, great news, I only have to tell a joke every 3 minutes in this one man because I'm going to go for different emotions, and laughter and humor will be sparingly dosed throughout. It's hilarious, so I would recommend it highly. And the Great Depression, bonus recommendation, but that's like a pre-pandemic special. But of the recent things I've seen, Ari Shaffir Jew was one of the best. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any recent recommendations or whatever. You know how to find me, probably. If you don't, what are we doing here? Like, I don't have to really say, hey, find me. Oh, and my special is out. Speaking of great specials, Tallboy is now free on YouTube. So thank you to the 40 people who've financially supported it and the hopefully millions who will now freeload and watch it for free. But those ads pay me money. So go watch it, enjoy it, share it, subscribe to my YouTube, give this podcast 5 stars when we get it, fully whatevered. And great ending. That's what I specialize in. I trail off. I don't have a sharp ending. So goodbye. And in tribute to Righteous Prick, I will see you next Tuesday.